The recording has started. So thank you so much, Patty, for doing this for us. I know, given our current status with the world, that utilizing Overdrive is of great importance and great value. So I'm going to turn it over to you, and I will just assist as needed.
Okay, so I'm going to try, I know we practiced this the other day. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start my PowerPoint presentation. So hopefully it will work. Okay, so I'm going to go from the beginning. So welcome, this is Overdrive Basics. I'm hoping it's not too basic for some of you and not over the top for others. I'm hoping for middle ground. So just bear with me, and if you have questions. Jen, if you could read the questions, because I can't see it in my current thing, so if you could help me with that. So here's what I have planned for the agenda for today. Just a brief history of the RCLS Overdrive, the types of ordering that we do, Advantage Plus basically, and ePool ordering, ordering a naming protocol, the different types of access models in Overdrive, and advanced search. I'm going to go over two types of reports, title recommendations and holds. If anybody has questions about some other reports, I can try and discuss them with you, but that could almost be a whole other webinar. I'm going to talk about cost per circ for virtual book discussions, because it's definitely a good opportunity for smaller libraries or libraries who only have Overdrive available as eContent for them. It's a really good way right now for you to do your virtual book discussions. If we have time, I want to talk about some of the trends and then questions afterwards. So let's get started. Okay, so brief history. So the Overdrive contract was signed in 2005, and it was made available to staff mid-year '05, and it was officially launched in January 2006. That's when it became public. In 2015, the funding pool, or the RCLS consortia, started purchasing materials. As Central Library, we had been purchasing a small amount of materials prior in that period, but when we pooled our money, that's when things really took off. And after that period, eContent circulation grew by 65%, and some libraries saw a growth of over 100%. It started, the collection started with about 400 individual items and 640 copies overall. I just had to update this morning. We now have over 28,560 individual items and 66,709 copies overall. This includes Advantage titles that are purchased by your libraries. So there's basically two types of eContent ordering. RCLS, which is the ePool. Basically, if you're logging in, you have a login that says, when you log in, if you have a login that has the ADV in it, that means you're logging in for your library. If you're logging in with just the library and ramapocatskill.lib and your name or the name of your library, you're logging in as the consortia. So that's a big difference. Sometimes people don't know what their password does. Overdrive Advantage is basically what I'll be trying to talk about with you today. But I'll explain the difference some more. So I wanted to give you a little bit about my own background. So as a selector, I started in 2010. I started ordering the audiobooks for the library system. In 2015, I started ordering the fiction ebooks and audiobooks for adults. And then Joanna Goldfarb from RCLS took over for Randy Enos and orders the juvenile and young adult material for the central system. I also order adult nonfiction with separate CBA money. It has to be adult purchased because that's a restriction of the money. So last year, I think this year we're spending close to 31,000. It's a political year. There's lots of stuff being written out there, and people are just requesting it a lot more. So I asked Newburgh for more money, if they had money to give, and that's what we're hoping to spend. Hopefully it doesn't get cut by our governor. We're still not 100% sure of the full budget, but she doesn't want, we're trying not to cut that budget. So this is the e-pool. It's adult, juvenile, and then it's by library. So this is what we originally started out with. This started in 2010. It's Overdrive Advantage. A library's Advantage collection is integrated into the existing shared collection, but only patrons of that individual Overdrive Advantage libraries can view and check out that material. It's a customized collection of titles specifically for your community, and it gives you continued access to titles you share with other libraries. One interesting point I wanted to make as I realized this, because I wanted to say that Newburgh really hasn't been much of an Advantage library until Advantage Plus came into play. I guess it was always just because we're Central Library, we just ordered centrally. So just as an aside, Lisa, our website and maybe some of the other libraries who are just starting to order Advantage libraries, RCLS is our default website. We might want to change that because we are ordering more, and other libraries might want to check that out too. If RCLS is the default website, you might want to change that so that it's your Advantage website so that your patrons can see what is particular to your library. And that's also if you're going into your Advantage reports, it's going to skew those, because if you are looking at RCLS, it's going to show you the RCLS, which is fine for most of us, and if you don't understand that, that's okay too. We're doing well. But I just wanted to put that out there as an aside. So ePooler Consortia is the shared collection. Like libraries have been doing since the beginning of time, we share our resources for the greater good. While I am here, just as a reminder, because I'm sorry people didn't know this already, if anyone wants to subscribe, there are two relevant listservs, ePool and eContent. ePool is basically a listserv for the selectors for the consortia, and eContent is for people who order that material in general. So you might want to subscribe to one of those, and if you do, just email Martha Sullivan at RCLS. Just as an aside, I want you to know that the consortia usually places orders on the 1st and the 15th of the month. I don't know if I'm going to get to that order today. It might happen on Monday, but I'm going to try and work on it. I was a little busy preparing these. If you order for the consortia, your carts can't have pre-orders in them. So just as an aside, I don't know if any libraries with Advantage put in pre-orders, but if you're ordering for the consortia, it cannot have pre-orders in there. It messes things up as far as billing goes. There is also a hold order that is placed by the consortia, and that takes place on the 21st of each month. How are we doing with questions? Are we okay, Jen?
Yes, we actually have two questions. The first is from Nanuet Reference asking, 31,000 is what RCLS spends on the ePool every year?
No. 31,000 for nonfiction. We typically spend 25,000, and if we have more money, we try and put it towards it. So it's 25,000 for nonfiction.
And then we have a question. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You tell me what the question is.
um, asking how to change from RCLS default to their own library.
Um, you know what? I have to explore that, but I'll try and send something out
Hmm.
on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, so Advantage has basically morphed into Advantage Plus. This happened. This started in 2017. Under the new program, titles are not transferred to the pool, but instead belong to the individual libraries and are able to be accessed by all system users. Owning library patrons have priority on the holds. That is why if some users complain that they go up and down on the holds list, it's because the purchasing library patrons have priority. Originally, this program was going to be exclusive to Advantage libraries for the first month, but thankfully, after discussions at a DA meeting, it was decided to move directly to allowing access to the other libraries. After all, your library patrons always have access first. Um, so just as an aside, so if you purchase it's only exclusively yours for a week. So if you purchase something in Advantage starting on a Monday, it's yours exclusively until the following Monday, where it gets shared with the consortia. If your patrons still have holds on it, they're going to get it first. But then other people can see it and they can get a hold on it as well. So I just wanted to say something about the Macmillan titles because I know some of you purchased some of them under the embargo to make sure your patrons had access to it. They remain one copy, one user for your patrons only. Copies bought after the change, which happened on March 19th, um, became metered access, and they're available to everyone. So just as an FYI to you on that. Sorry, just turning the page. While I'm here, before I get started with ordering in general, I just wanted to say, for the sake of the business office at RCLS, please order your carts with a naming protocol, and I'll explain that a little bit, so it's easier for the business office to figure out what's being ordered and who the library is. We've kind of gotten sloppy about it, and now is a good reminder for everyone, including me, to try and do the same naming protocol. So here's some abbreviations to know. AF is adult fiction. They're right here. SEN is an order from Central Library, or Joanna from RCLS from Youth Services. ADV is an Advantage order. JUVE is Youth Services. AUD is audiobooks. And nonfiction is usually, because it's just one big card I order, I combine audiobooks and ebooks in it, but just as an FYI to you. So, here's some examples of some cards. Just so you can understand. So the first one's an NFL Advantage card, and that's the date that it was put in.
Patty, we have a question regarding metered access versus one copy per patron. Would you mind addressing that?
Yes, I'm about to, right on the screen. Thank you for that segue. So we're going to talk about access types. So here are the main ones. One copy, one user is basically like a library book. Those are the best kind to have because we have them forever, unless hypothetically the publisher says, oh no, we don't want to give that to you anymore, which sometimes happens. But one copy, one user is ours. Metered access is by either time, and it's typically 24 or 12 now, or 12 months, or checkouts, or whichever comes first. So there's a lot of different types of metered access. It's a pain in the neck, and but that's what all of the big 5 publishers are using. So it's kind of important to know. Simultaneous use is typically your magazines. And SPC is cost per circ model, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And that's basically a simultaneous use for that you can access for an advantage for your library patrons. So ordering. Oops, hold on a second. Sorry, just flipping my pages here. So I figured I would just share my screen so you could see. I wasn't going to videotape this because I wasn't sure how the heck I would do that. So I'm just going to share my screen. Oh, can somebody get that phone? Sorry. So you could see different types of searches. I'm going to do new releases by age group, by model. And before that, I'm going to just show you something about how to decipher the bottom of a title screen. So let me figure out how to share another screen. Can I pause the share, or should I just go to the next? Let me see how I do this. I'm sorry.
Yep, we see you getting there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so I believe I am in right now. I signed into my Advantage library account. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move if I can, I'm going to move this so I can get into the third screen over here. So I'm going to just show you one title because I want you to be able to figure out how to read titles. You know, it's not easy. Let me see if I can get this going. Of course, my thing is going slowly. Well, I wasn't gonna. Let me show you one. Just it's not the one that I wanted to show you, but so like for instance, let me see if I can. So this one is it's owned by an Advantage library. It doesn't tell me who it is. Okay, if I was in as a consortia, it would tell me who has it. And it would tell me, you know, but this tells you when it was purchased and when it expires and how many checkouts are left. So it's the earlier of 52 checkouts or 24 months, whichever comes soonest. If it was Advantage Plus, it would show up here. What I wanted to say, let me see if I could find that one because that was an interesting one because I happen to be dealing with that with somebody else, and I just wanted to show it. Because basically what the librarian wanted to know when she was looking at that was she's like I know that the youth services librarians have been ordering manga, and she was like, well, you know, she goes, should I order this volume 1 because it looks like it's gone out 30 times already, and it was a checkout of 30 times for the title as a whole. It's kind of like in our catalog when it's the old model and the newer model, and you check to see how many checkouts have gone out, you know, the history of the checkouts from before Enterprise and the checkouts that have gone out, you know, with the newer model. Am I making sense to people? Let me know if you understand that or not. If not, I can try and explain it a little bit better.
So we have a question in the chat saying, just for clarification, the top numbers indicate titles available to the consortium. and the lower
Yes,
numbers are exclusive to the individual library?
yes. But that'll but it flips over after 7 days. It does. It'll flip over, and those titles should go in the Advantage Plus shared. So, but I don't know if you guys, I don't play a lot with Advantage because I'm fairly new to Advantage too. Using it because I can see from the consortia side if you guys can see what libraries have purchased it or not, and if it makes a difference to you. You might not be able to see that from the Advantage side. So I'm going to get into some searches now. Did that clarify that question for that person? Sort
We
of.
do have another question asking where are these numbers? And
Okay.
and further clarification is being requested.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can find something that's like. Let's go to Where the Crawdads Sing. uh, okay. So, for instance, um, there are 54 copies of Where the Crawdads Sing. And it tells you how many shared units there are with all of the libraries. How many have shared it, etc. I'm sorry, I just keep moving this camera around so I can do things. Um, as far as metered access go, so it'll tell you when they've expired, when they're about to expire. So there's all of these copies. And some of them are set to expire, in 2020. A lot of them are set to expire in 2021. There's a number of suspended holds. And suspended holds means like, no, I'm too busy to read it right now. I'm gonna suspend it, and I'm gonna ask that it come back to me later. That only happens once for that particular title. Otherwise, it gets canceled on them. And then these are Advantage, so if you look below at that Advantage MA down here, so these were probably just, okay, so these were purchased in 3/26/2019. These are mine. These are Newberg copies. So it just tells me, because I'm in as a Newberg patron, when we started them and when they're set to expire. And it tells you, the top number is the consortium. Total checkouts for the consortium is 2,584. For Advantage library users, it's 111. Does that answer that question?
So we have a few more questions that have popped up. The
Okay.
first one is shared units means copies those libraries purchase that patrons at all libraries can check out?
Yes, that's what Advantage Plus is. But your patrons always have priority on Advantage Plus titles.
Okay. And then someone has asked, can I tell from this screen if my library owns a copy?
Yes, if you're going in as an Advantage user, it should just show your Advantage copies at the bottom. And if you went to the Advantage Plus shared, it shows you the list of the libraries that have it out there.
Okay. And what are the 5 publishers that only have metered access? Do you happen to know that off the top of your head?
Hold on. I might be talking about that later. I might be talking about that in the afternoon session, but Simon and Schuster, Penguin Random House, Macmillan now, Blackstone, and I can send out the link to the American Library. There's an American Libraries article on it.
Okay, great, thank you. And then last question. I know that's like naming the seven dwarfs. What what's the difference between the blue information and the orange?
Advantage information is your information for your library at the bottom. That is advantage information. That's basically your library. The top information is consortia. It's everybody.
And we have another question that came through. At this
Okay.
point, are all title purchases as Advantage Plus? So are they shared? Or is this a setting and some purchases may not be shared?
No, I believe that I think it's all titles. I don't think that you can restrict it. I think that Advantage just morphed into Advantage Plus. Because your patrons still always have priority over those titles. So realize that when you purchase it.
Okay. And thank you, David, for placing in the chat. Stated the big five publishers are Penguin Random House, Hachette, Simon Schuster, Macmillan, and HarperCollins. Further states, I don't know if there's overlap between that list and the publishers now using the metered access model.
I just want to add also that one of the things that's happening, if David wants to look into this a little bit further, I think I talk about it in the afternoon because it's a problem. Is that also there are some audiobook publishers that are going to metered access as well. So we're basically leasing books as opposed to owning them. OU, one copy, one user is the best way, but it is not the way of the future, unfortunately, for the big five publishers. Okay, so can I move on to just showing you some orders, how to place orders?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, over to the right of your search box, there's something called Advanced Search. And I would use that to do a lot of my searching. So somebody asked about new releases, so excuse me. I'm going to go in by language. I'm going to make it English because you can see that a bunch of things come up unless you're ordering for Spanish or another collection. We do have Chinese, and I think we have a few other titles that come up. But I'm just going to change that to English. I am going to. You can select by audience, so let's put in juvenile fiction and juvenile nonfiction. And so and then I'm just moving down the screen, and I'm just going to go by where it says street date. I'm going to put the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to put in next month because I'm always looking for things that are published, not for things that are coming out. So, a second, I'm sorry. For the last 2 weeks. In holdings, I might go in collection. I might go, not in my advantage. You could put in not in my advantage collection. You can sort by Lexile, etc. And I actually like the popularity across libraries. There is also popularity at my site, which is the RCLS site. Um, but popularity across libraries is good. It kind of gives you um, what's popular all over. I'm glad it's not thundering outside. I was worried that I could possibly lose my internet connection. So it's still going. Sorry. I don't know how everybody else's browsers are, but so those are the applied filters on the left-hand side, just so you can see, and if you wanted to, you could limit it by a certain model, you know, OCOU, MA by time, or just see what's out there. Um, so we'll just do a little scroll through. Sorry, Jen, I feel like I keep on moving you around so I can see different things on. So we're just going to scroll through. It tells you how many checkouts there are. These are just coming out. You can see that there's an on sale street date of 4/21/2020. Um, like for instance, this title Rick. It was shared by Moffett Library in New City on 4/27. Trying to see if we see something that says um, sometimes over in this corner you'll see a little dot and it'll see recommended title, and it's basically a patron wants it. So that's a good indicator that other people want it as well. So just something to look out for. I am going to go over recommendations for your particular library, but so these are just new titles. So that's a way to look for things. Any questions coming up, Jen? Are we okay?
Yep, we actually just have one that came through. When a library places an Advantage order and there are pre-order titles, is it restricted to their patrons only before the title is released, plus a week after the release date? Or can patrons from other libraries place holds on it a week after it is ordered, even though it hasn't been released?
Good question, and I don't know the answer to that. Um, that's because I don't do pre-orders. So I can try and get an answer to that. But so what happens? So normally, can somebody answer this question for me? Who usually orders Advantage? If it is pre-ordered, your patrons can see that it's on there and they can place holds on it. Is that correct? I'm waiting for an answer from somebody on that side, because does anybody know the answer to that? Because
Hi, this is Joanna. I think that they can place holds on pre-ordered items. I'm like
okay.
90% sure.
Okay. Um, you know, patrons can put like recommendations on holds. Um, I'm curious to know if you look at your list of people who put holds on it, if they're your library card users or not. If you could let me know that, I'd be curious to know myself. I mean, I could put it out to Overdrive, but they're not always quick about getting back right now because they are super busy. Surprise.
I thought in one of the meetings that I've gone to over the years that they said we weren't supposed to place pre-orders was because so people don't put so many holds on it before it's coming out, and it messes up the holds timeline or whatever.
It it's certain. I mean, it's certainly. I personally don't do it. I can't do it from a financial point of view from our end, so I don't do it. But
I mean,
um,
I make the cart and then just send it, that Tuesday, so people can start doing it then.
okay. Well, I'm sorry. What library are you from? Because I don't see the chat.
Um, I'm from Nanuet, but I don't know where she's from.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I would think I would think that if you're doing that, maybe it would just be your patrons. I will say that if you're in Libby, there's not a way for one of the reports I'm going to show you later. It's called title recommendations. That you can't like recommend a title through Libby. You can just favorite it. So it kind of gives you a skew possibly towards your more experienced slash older users who are more familiar with it that are still using Overdrive because Libby doesn't have that recommended feature. So I'm going to keep on going. That's a good question though. I don't know the answer to it. Jen, if you wouldn't mind making a note of that, if you could, so I can, or somebody, because I will try and ask.
Yep, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Um, so like with that new releases, I showed that you can do it by age group, and you can also do by model as well. So I'm going to do one more advanced search just so you can see that you can save a search too. So I'll do an ebook search. I'm going to specify the language as English. I'm going to make it adult fiction. There's even a reviewed by, which I don't usually pay attention to this as much because usually the reviews are in the book as well. It'll have a reviewed by, but if you wanted to, you could certainly look at this. So there's lots of different things on there. I'm going to go in by street day too because that tells me. So I'm just going to select the last 24 hours. And I'm going to go in by lending model, one copy, one user. Just see what's out there. It could be nothing. And not in the collection. Not in consortia, not in advantage. Let's just see what comes up. Oh, shoot. What I wanted to show you, sorry, instead of hitting search, I just wanted to hit save. So what you can do is if you do a search all the time, just hit that save button. So I'm going to see if I can hit it. So if you wanted, you could just save the search. If you're going to do the search over and over again for a certain type of material every 2 weeks, every week, once a month, and just name it something like adult fiction. I don't think it gives you a lot of room up at the top, but you can give a description here like list last week or last 24 hours, etc. And then you can pin it, you can pin the search to the menu and it shows up on the side. So I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to cancel this search just so you know that it typically shows up here as a pin with however you named it, right in this spot right here. So you can just do that search and see what you get. How are we doing, Jen? Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go back for a second to my PowerPoint, if I can find it underneath all of these tabs. Hold on a second. So I hope that I helped a little bit with the ordering. Use that advanced search item, and then I just wanted to share with you. So this is how to save a search. So I'm just gonna. I also wanted to say that there's a 60-page PDF that's in Marketplace support in Overdrive, and you can refer to it. So you can always look there and search for answers as well. And now I'm going to go over 2 reports that I think you want to look at when ordering, holds and purchase recommendations. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen in a second, and I just want to reiterate that point about how, like, if you do look at the purchase recommendation order, it's a little skewed to those that are just using Overdrive and not Libby. One of the things that Libby has that regular Overdrive doesn't is whatchamacallit. Libby has that lucky day feature, which I'm going to be talking about in the afternoon a little bit.
Patty, there is a question regarding reports to also show how to see a list of who placed the holds.
List of who, okay, who placed holds. Okay. Okay. You want to see if, I think it can't be, I mean, I believe I've asked this question before because I'm like, is it the same person placing the hold over and over? And it's not, supposedly. It could be a family member, though. I'm just speculating here. So I am going to go back to that screen, and I'm gonna show reports. Okay, so I'm going to go to Insights. And I'm going to go to current holds for me. So this is these are just Newberg holders who are looking for oh great, my generator is starting. So it's just testing itself. Hopefully you don't hear it. So this is the list of Newberg titles that people have. If you wanted to see who's placing the hold, you see how they're in blue, you can just it'll give you the user ID. Does that answer that question for that person? And
yes, it does. Thank you.
okay. So you can You can manipulate these reports around and run new reports. Um, and you can download these as a worksheet, which if you really want to get down and dirty, you should certainly do if you wanted to um, see what's going on with your patrons. But you can like run a new report by user. You know, who's putting the holds on. So you can change that. What the weed status is of a particular title, if it's weeded or if it's in the collection. I will say that now, if you run across a weeded title, that is happening because of metered access. And a few years back, I was saying everybody's putting holds on things that we no longer own. So we had to weed it in order to see. I try and order anything that has 3 or more holds on it, and anything with 2 or less. There's a quarterly report that's given out to the libraries, and they have to decide if they want to order those things that have 1 or 2 holds on it. So occasionally those still come up, and if somebody still wants it and you decide you want to purchase it, then it has to be unweeded, and you put in a request to Jerry to do that. Okay? So there are ways of manipulating the reports. You can create a worksheet of it, and it first saves it as a CSV. You want to definitely save it as an Excel, so you can manipulate it and sort it to your advantage. You want to see what the ratio is, and the advantage ratio, if it's a good ratio for your library. If it's really high, you want to change that. Let's see if I want to sort. I don't want to play with this right now because we're almost at an hour. But just something to think about. So, you can. Oops, that's for later. So this is the holds report. I want to go to another report that would give you an idea too. So jump to a different report, and I usually put in current. Oh, do I have most viewed? I'm trying to see. Oh, I don't even know if it's available anymore here. But it's available for me as a. Hold on, let me see. So I was going to put in. Title recommendations, but I don't even think it's available. Hold on. Here, I'm going to put it in. It's called recommended titles. And so there's 173 titles that are recommended in the last 30 days. You can change that time frame in there as well when you run a new report. This is all formats that aren't in the collection. So I have 3 titles from Newburgh that want a good marriage. And then, the rest are 1, but I have 4 pages of title recommendations. So it's a thing to look at as well, as when you're looking at new titles coming out, what your patrons want and what your patrons have on hold. How are we doing with questions, Jen?
A question came through asking if we can delete someone's hold.
I don't know if you can, but the system can. And actually, that's something we're going to be talking about later because I know I had brought it up before, that like just like in symphony, a hold is good for a year, and then if it doesn't, it gets canceled. Unfortunately, there's not a nice notice that says that at the beginning, but we're you can request that a hold be canceled through Jerry, I believe. But we're going to be talking about that later on in the afternoon. So one of the things that I was going to talk about while I had you here was going back to my PowerPoint after the reports, is I wanted to show you, so cost per circ titles for libraries looking to do virtual book discussions. So Have a Straw had used this briefly in the past. It's basically you put a little bit of money aside, in this budget, and you can select one or two titles. I'm going to show you, but I just wanted to just say it. And it would be good for doing a virtual book discussion. And a lot of publishers, in particular HarperCollins, I'm not going to say a lot of publishers, but HarperCollins has opened up a lot of their backlog and are making titles available that are pretty interesting. So I'm going to go into that. And, oh, can I move this around? Oh, no, I can't move that around. It's in my tabs. Hold on a second. I'm going to see if I can. Okay. I can't move this bar, can I, Jen, up at the top? Oh, I can. Okay, good. So this is how to add CPC titles to your collection. You're going to go in the shop mode, which was where we went to do, it's right at the beginning of, hold on, let me go out. So it says, when it says shop, one copy, one user, and metered access, if you use that little down arrow there, there's a cost per circ. So it says when you add a cost per circ title, you only pay for the titles that your users borrow. These don't go into the consortia. These are for your library patrons. So if you announce that you want to do a book club on Little Fires Everywhere, you could. And it's going to cost your library $5.50 per book. So that's, there are other ones that are cheaper, like the Alice Network is $1.99. There are some that are even cheaper. So there's audiobook bestsellers, there's book club picks, and this says hot deals on ebooks, and I'm actually interested in this title, which it says isn't available anymore, but I'm like wondering if it says this Bullets into Bells. I could see possibly some Newburgh people being into this. It's Poets and Citizens Respond to Gun Violence, and I just thought it was an interesting title. But there's things in there that I don't know if those are zero because they're being offered for free. I haven't explored this. There are some children's titles, like for instance, these little titles are at 22 cents. There's also video. I don't know how you would want to go with that. So that's more of a, but for book discussions, these perpetually, let's see if I can get some more titles in there. The Glass Hotel. It's definitely more than whatchamacallit. Like I know that some libraries were looking into all of the classics. Like you might find something in here that's going to appeal to you. And there was a link that I put on the PowerPoint page that actually brings you to a nice place to, hold on, let me see if I can just get to that link and open it up here. No, hold on, let me copy this. So, you can have, I just want to say while we're talking about this before I show you that link, or just go to that link because we're running out of time a little bit. Go to that link. There's also a way to set up a budget and a checkout limit. So on course, you can just do 1 or 2 titles and just set a monthly user checkout limit and set a monthly budget and see how it goes. Make it $50 and, and it would be checked out, or email it to your book club patrons and say, hey, this is available to you if you have our card. It's a good way to do it, I think. And then if it gets out of hand, you can just quickly suspend it. Follow the steps if you'd like to temporarily suspend cost per circ checkouts, but keep cost per circ titles in your digital collection. If you went and picked Where the Crawdads Sing, you're going to get people from your library that probably want to read it just because it's available, and it might be more expensive than just buying the copies. So that's the give and take of the cost per circ. So you just have to think about that when you're doing a title.
Patty, we have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Okay.
The first question, so there's one that pertains specific to CPC, and that is, does the library pay for cost per circ titles only when patrons check them out?
Yes. The budget is there, and that's yes. So it's like your monthly targeted budget and user checkout limit controls how much you spend. You can edit your target budget and user checkout limit at any time, and changes take place within 24 hours.
Okay, great. And then can cost per circ books be specific only to book club members?
No, I don't think so. So that's why, unless you gave them kind of an alert and said, hey, I'm making this available to you, and then physically checking to see who's checked out the books and then stopping it. Yeah, that's the question there.
Yeah. And then
so
have an. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There's a question regarding magazine collections.
Okay. What's the question?
Since they are simultaneous use, are they purchased by the consortium?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Yes. And what was the question?
So they all are. Yeah. Go ahead.
So it's purchased with central money, and that's one of the things that central library money is used for, is that. And actually there's 72 titles. There's not 75 right now, and it's typically about 4% of our usage in Overdrive. But it is a nice thing that you have simultaneous use for that, because some people do use it. JAR is very popular.
Someone's looking to add access to the New Yorker.
Okay, that happens. It's going to happen supposedly in the spring, and not all magazines are available. It would be nice if they were. I don't believe the New Yorker is one of them. I don't believe it is, and actually, I think there is talk about possibly. I'm not sure because we're concerned about the budget. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the magazines. But as of right now, it's still there. I'm not sure what's going to happen in July. It all depends on funding.
Okay.
So,
All right. Thank you.
okay, I'm going to end quick and just talk about trends because I just wanted to. So under insights again, if you go into trends, it shows you how the consortia is doing. It doesn't show you just your particular library. But just so you see, I just wanted to give a shout out to people because I only have a certain amount of money to spend, and I know that everybody jumped on board as soon as this happened, and that everybody who could move money did move money, and I applaud you. But I just wanted to just end on a high note as to where we stand. So we're just starting our second quarter, and we're at 2,145 checkouts. Last year, we're definitely going to go over this 480, 784,000 mark. Our unique users, look at that. People are lazy. One of the things I will say is that the mobile digital cards, people are like, yeah, I don't have my library card with me. Yeah, just give me a temporary card. And they want to use, they're finding us through that method, and that is the highest number of unique users. But so you can see that that since January till now, we're almost at our 2019 level. So people are discovering us, which is a good thing. Holds over the year. Thank you, thank you. This is where you guys are making the difference. Our holds, I mean, some of the 2019 had to do with Macmillan and that embargo, but I think we're in a good spot. I'll be talking about that later on in the afternoon. And then I just wanted to show you user activity. So, for April, we're doing good. This is where we were in March, and look at the jump. And I'm giving a shout out to Joanna and the youth services. So, so here's where we were in February for juvenile material. So it was like 7.2%. Young adult was at 6.5%. In March, it jumped up to 11.5 and 7.5. So adult was at 81%, and now adults are at 0.25%. So I'm glad the kids are discovering it. They're certainly savvy, and they're going to use it. So look. In April, it's already 15.6% and 7.6% of the young adults that are using the collection. So kudos for that. This is purchases. I'm not going to go over this one quick. I'm going to try and end things. But unique users, look. This was the previous year. This is where we are right now. It's a 54.2% increase. There's still more work to be done. I will personally say that if you can, try and market this product. If you have Hoopla, I always tell the Hoopla people that Hoopla marketing is great. They send it to you and everything. Overdrive has marketing stuff that you have to download. I'd almost make my own stuff up. I've complained to Overdrive. I said, you really need to up your marketing game because, they could certainly be advertising more. But if we make our users aware of it, this is definitely an avenue for them for how long we're out like this. So try and market this product, because although many people are using it right now, there's still plenty more who need to discover it. And I think I'm going to end right there if anybody has questions.
Thank you so much, Patty. I'll give people a moment to type in any questions that they may have. A lot of thank yous from the chat.
Oh, thank you. I hope I answered most questions.
Okay, wonderful. So I will be posting this presentation on the online virtual professional development LibGuide that Joanna and I have created. I will send a follow-up email with a link to that guide for you to access the presentation, as well as an online evaluation form, which will go out to see if there's any outstanding questions, if we need further sessions, so on and so forth. So thank you, Patty. Is there anything you want to add before we end the recording?
Nope. Just New York Botanical Gardens is having a little thing on cherry trees right now that I wanted to eat before I start my session at 1. and no, thank you. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to, me, Joanna, Jerry, or, anybody. And if you discover something that I've said is not accurate or whatever, or if you just discover a problem, please pass it on. I just want to say no question is stupid. If you want to ask a question, send it to me directly or whatever. Probably somebody else has the same question, but, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording.
Okay, great.